People always ask me, Jimmy, what's the best tool? They want to know about the most expensive, the fanciest gear. I get it. You see all these amazing workshops on social media. They're filled with tools that cost thousands of dollars. It makes you think you need that stuff to do good work. But I'm here to tell you, that's not always the truth. A lot of it is just marketing. The idea that more money equals better results is a myth, especially when you're starting out. You don't need a German-engineered sander that costs more than your first car to make something beautiful. It's about the hands that hold the tool. Let's talk about sanders. They're a fundamental tool in any shop. You can't get that smooth, professional finish without one. The big brands want you to believe their sanders have special features you can't live without. They talk about brushless motors, advanced vibration control, and proprietary dust collection systems that sound like they belong on a spaceship. Are those things nice? Sure. Are they necessary to get the job done? Absolutely not. I've used everything from a simple block of wood with sandpaper wrapped around it to the most advanced sanders on the market. The secret isn't in the price tag. The most important thing is learning the craft. It's about understanding wood grain. It's about knowing how to progress through different grits of sandpaper, from coarse to fine. You need to develop a feel for the material. An expensive tool won't teach you that. In fact, sometimes starting with simpler, more affordable tools forces you to be a better maker. You learn to work with the tool's limitations. You learn to pay closer attention to what you're doing. You focus on technique instead of relying on a machine to do all the thinking for you. It builds character in your work and in you as a craftsman. So, today, we're going to bust this myth wide open. I went out and bought a random orbital sander for just $35. It's a basic, no-frills machine from one of those big box stores. The kind of tool most people walk right past, on their way to the more expensive brands. We're going to put it through its paces. We'll see if it can hold its own against the big boys. Can a tool this cheap really produce a finish you'd be proud to put your name on? We're about to find out. This is where the real work begins, and the truth comes out. Taking this thing out of the box, my first reaction is, well, it's a sander. It's made of hard plastic, mostly black and gray. It doesn't feel premium. It doesn't have the sexy, ergonomic lines of a Festool or a Mirka. If you handed it to me blindfolded, I'd know right away it wasn't a $500 tool. The plastic seams are a little more noticeable, and the branding is just a simple sticker. It comes with a small dust bag that feels a bit flimsy and one lonely sanding disc. This is the kind of tool that makes a lot of woodworkers skeptical. They'd pick it up, feel the weight, and put it right back on the shelf thinking, this can't be any good, but let's not judge a book by its cover. I plugged it in and put my hand on it. The grip is actually pretty comfortable. It has a rubberized top that fits nicely in the palm of my hand. It's not too heavy, but it's not so light that it feels like a toy either. It has some decent heft to it, which can be a good thing. A little weight helps the sander do the work, so you don't have to press down too hard. The power switch is a simple rocker switch, sealed to keep the dust out. It's basic, but it's functional. So far it's not winning any design awards, but it feels solid enough to get to work. Now for the real test, noise and vibration. I flipped the switch. It roared to life with a familiar hum. It's loud, no doubt about it. It's not as quiet as my high-end sanders, but it's not screaming like a banshee either. I'd definitely recommend wearing ear protection, which you should be doing anyway. As for vibration, it's there. You can feel the motor working in your hand. But honestly, it's not that bad. I've used some older, more expensive sanders that shook my fillings out more than this thing. It feels surprisingly balanced for a tool at this price point. It doesn't feel like it's going to rattle itself to pieces. To start, I grabbed a piece of scrap pine. I slapped on the included sanding disc, probably around 120 grit, and got to work. I let the tool do its thing, just guiding it gently across the surface. It immediately started chewing through the rough surface of the pine. It was removing material effectively. The random orbital pattern was working as it should, preventing those ugly swirl marks that you get from less advanced sanders. For a quick, initial test on a soft wood, it did exactly what a sander is supposed to do. It made a rough piece of wood smooth. First impressions? Better than expected. Scrap pine is one thing, but a real project is another, so I grabbed a piece of oak, a tough, dense hardwood that can really challenge a sander's motor. I needed to sand a tabletop, and this was the perfect test. I switched to an 80 grit disc to level the surface and remove any machine marks. I turned the sander on and went to work on the oak. I was half expecting the motor to bog down or struggle under the load, but it just kept going. It plowed through the surface with consistent power, turning the hard oak into a smooth, even plane. It took a little time, but it got the job done without any complaints. Next up, the tricky parts. Every project has them: curved edges, tight corners, and detailed profiles. This is where a bulky or poorly balanced sander can ruin your day. I used it to sand the rounded edges of the tabletop. The sander was nimble enough that I could easily control it, following the curve without flattening it out. Its relatively small size allowed me to get into some of the tighter spots on the table's apron. For really detailed work, you might want a smaller detail sander, but for general-purpose curves and edges, this $35 machine handled it just fine. I was impressed by its versatility. Now, let's talk about the finish. After working my way up through the grits, 80, 120, 180, and finally, 220, I stopped to inspect the surface. The oak was incredibly smooth, with a nice sheen. To be fair, I grabbed my expensive sander and finished one half of the tabletop with it, and the other half with the cheap one. Side by side, could I tell the difference? Honestly, no. With proper technique and a good progression of sandpaper grits, the final finish was virtually identical. The wood felt silky smooth under my fingertips, ready for oil. The proof is in the surface, and this little sander delivered. But what about the mess? Dust collection is a big selling point for expensive sanders. The little cloth bag on this $35 sander looked like a joke, and to be honest, it wasn't great. It probably collected about 50 to 60% of the dust. The rest ended up on my workbench, on the floor, and on me. My high-end sander, when hooked up to a vacuum, is nearly dust-free. So, this is a clear trade-off. If you work in a small space or are sensitive to dust, you'll either need a good mask and a broom or you'll need to spend more money. For me, in my big shop, I can live with a little dust. I ran this sander hard for a couple of hours straight. I wanted to see if it would overheat or show any signs of giving up. It got warm, sure, all sanders do, but it never got alarmingly hot. It just kept running like a champ. As for maintenance, it couldn't be simpler. The sanding pads use a standard 5-inch 8-hole hook and loop system. This means you can buy replacement discs from any hardware store. They're cheap and readily available. The pad itself seems durable enough for now. If it ever wears out, replacement pads for these types of sanders are usually inexpensive. There are no complicated electronics or proprietary parts to worry about. It's a simple, durable workhorse. So, here's the finished project. A beautiful oak side table. The finish is flawless. It's smooth, consistent, and ready for a lifetime of use. If I put this table in a gallery and told you I sanded it with a $500 machine, you would believe me. The fact that a major part of the work was done with a $35 tool from a big box store is a testament to the idea that it's the maker, not the tool, that truly matters. You can't tell which half was sanded with which tool. It proves that with a little bit of patience and the right technique, you can achieve professional results on a shoestring budget. Who should buy this sander? If you're a beginner just starting to build your tool collection, this is a no-brainer. It's the perfect entry-level sander that will teach you the fundamentals without breaking the bank. It's also a great option for DIYers and homeowners who need a reliable sander for occasional projects around the house. Even for a seasoned pro, it makes a fantastic backup tool to have in the shop. For the price of a few fancy coffees, you get a machine that is more than capable of producing high-quality work. It's the best bang for your buck I've seen in a long time. If you're interested in picking one of these up, you can find them at most major hardware stores or online. Just look for the basic corded 5-inch random orbital sander in the tool aisle. Don't let the fancy packaging of the expensive brands distract you. Sometimes the best tool is the one that simply gets the job done. Keep an eye on my channel for more reviews where we find the hidden gems in the world of tools. Now, go make something.